This is on the answering a question. Is it possible to undo what was done? Right? You can never undo what was done. Right? All this kind of spiritual gymnastics. Right? Let me be real. Right? All this kind of spiritual gymnastics. Watch me in my eye and let me be real about this. White people. Right? All the kind of spiritual gymnastics. Right? Time traveling, XYZ, all they're trying to make people do to go back in time, defend situations, massive situations like colonial British slavery, all them things, right? You cannot undo that which was done. And let me put it that way, right? That's why I made a video saying that the only thing, right, that could really solve racism and the race problem in this world is that white people need to repatriate, right? You can't travel me back in time and say, hey, defend white people for what was that, right? What was that? That you cannot do that. Hey, if you are traveling in time, if you are traveling somebody in time, you take me up, right? Whatever technologies you always use to travel me in time, right? The only way you could travel me, the only cause, right, you could travel me in time for is to go back in that time period and say, hey, we really do this? Or they really do this to we? We really do this to these people? Or they really do this to me? Hey, we had to fix it, right? People had to fix it, or they had to fix it, right? That is the only thing, right? To learn a lesson, right? To learn a lesson, to adjust yourself, right? And fix that situation in the present, right? So the past doesn't feel as hurtful, right? That's the only thing that you all could do. You can't time travel somebody to defend a situation. Hey, if a cause happen, if a effect happen, a cause happen, a effect happen, that already happened, right? And there's nothing that you could do about it to change it. The only thing you could really do is to try and soften the situation and say, hey, well, that already happened. But no, you know what all the solution is be? Hey, that happened in the past. Somebody gonna come to find it, to fight that, right? Let me eliminate that person. That is how all it's thinking is. And that is the problem, right? That is the problem. We are trying to get to the root of what is be affecting all your mind like that, right? We are trying to get to the root of what is being affecting your mind, right? That would make you all think like that, right? So you cause a problem in the past, a massive problem, right? Which people have been fighting against from since it happened, right? Putting up resistance against from since it happened, right? Now, all you know that, hey, this person to deal with this thing, to seriously deal with this thing, gonna awaken, right? The person who really gonna deal with the situation or gonna happen, low power to hit on that person, right? That is all you're thinking. Rather than saying, hey, for generations now, people been fighting against the situation, right? Let me try and ease their mind and give them comfort, right? No, you know how all you're thinking is, oh, the person who coming to fight this thing, right? They're going to awaken, right? To eliminate them. That is how all you're thinking is, right? And that's the problem. That's why we're trying to get the root of what is caused all to want to genocide out people, right? Oh, hey, it have people who look differently from earlier, right? It have people who, what is caused earlier to just want to eliminate people from the world who look differently from you all, right? Who look darker from you all, who look or the hairs are different texture from you all, right? What is caused you all just on the basis of that, right? That's that programming, right? Because we programmed, we deeply flipping programmed, right? We are deeply programmed, right? So what is at the root of you all wanting the desire, right? To instead of, hey, let me just soften the situation, do what I incarnated here to do, right? Do what you incarnated here to do, right? Instead of saying, hey, let me just wipe out the people, right? So that I don't have to deal with that, right? What is at the root, right, of that kind of thinking, right? That's what we're trying to get at, right? To help people to sit with their thought, right? And find out, hey, what is at the root of my subconscious programming, right? That is making me feel this kind of way, right? To, hey, want to depopulate the world, right? As opposed to, hey, let me actually use my resources to do what God give me, all our resources, right? Instead of thinking or asking myself, hey, saying, hey, God bless me with XYZ resources, right? God bless me, right? To change your thinking, to say, hey, God bless me with abundant resources, right? Now, why do I not feel propelled or compelled to use our resources to help people who look differently from me? Rather, I want to depopulate or eliminate them, right? So this is the kind of healing that we want to look at, right? It's not as simple as saying it's not just as simple as saying, oh, all white people are shit, all black people are shit, right? It's not simple as that, right? It's not simple as that. It's not simple as the stereotypes. It's not simple as it's not simple as the stereotypes, right? It goes a lot deeper than that to unconscious, subconscious programming. It's a program that needs to be broken. Right? It's a subconscious program that runs in this reality that needs to be broken. Right? That is the root healing that we need to go at. Right? Is not simple, right? The reality that you know, right, or live in is not as simple, right? It's not straightforward, right? So that's the what we need to get at, right? To understand different angles of people, situations, right? Because honestly, is like I say, is more than just blasting a Bob Marley song, right? Snapping your fingers, right, and singing and smiling with a Bob Marley song. Is more than that, right? Solving racism is more than listening to a Bob Marley song, right, and feeling let's get together and feel alright, right? Is and redemption songs is way more than white people running through countries and showing up at different cultural events and enjoying yourself and then going back home to your reality, right? There's a reality that people live in their everyday reality, right? So solving racism is not coming down to Caribbean countries or traveling to India, Africa, right? And they're going to the Taj Mahal, right? And they're going to this place and they're going to that place and taking out a picture, putting it on Facebook and saying, hey, I'm actually a cultural person, right? That's not what solving racism is about, right? It is actually participating in a more deep-rooted process of healing, right? And a lot of time that means sitting with your own thoughts and asking yourself questions, right? Asking yourself questions, and this is on both and all sides: brown, black, Chinese, right? White, everybody, right? This is sitting with yourself and asking, hey, why do I think this way about X person or X group of people, right? What in my subconscious programming makes me think a particular way about a particular group of people that make it, hey, that is not just a personality thing, but it's a race thing, right? So we have a collective inherited thought, which is a race, ethnic pattern in our thinking, right? And we also have an individual thought pattern, right? So which is basically our personality, right? And the personality. So it's more than saying, oh, blacks have this personality, or whites have this personality, or brown Indians have this personality, right? Or Chinese have this personality. There are certain traits and ethnic groups that remain, right? Certain things that are kind of like you can identify as primarily consistent, but these things are programs, right? These things are programs. It's inherited these programs are running. Programs, right? So this is what we're trying to break through the program so that people we approach people from an angle of how you relate to me, right? How you relate rather than use this race, right? You are this race, I am this race, right? Breaking through that reality and rather interacting with people. Hey, how you relate with me as a person, I relate back with you as a person, right? So relate to each other as people, right? In a good and a harmonious way, right? But to reach to there, to reach to that point, we need to have certain conversations and move forward from certain things in the past, right? You can't reach to that point, at least on a global level, right? You can't reach to that point on approaching people based on personality and how they relate to you while you're ignoring the collective horror that occur, right? Then you're being fake. It come like you're being fake nice to people, right? It come like you're being fake nice to people because you have to look at things. Say, this thing really did happen, right? To this group of people, whichever groups, right? This thing really did happen to this person. This thing really did happen to this group of people, right? And it's not okay for me to just sit down, be okay with it, and pretend it didn't happen, right? It's not okay for me to just sit down, be normal in my everyday life, and pretend it didn't happen. right? Because it did, and it's not something that happened that, hey, it happened yesterday. I could move on from it today. It's something that had generational impact, right? Generational impact, right? So the repatriation that people been asking for, right, is not a repatriation really that could say, hey, we forget about things. It is actually something that is supposed to soften the situation, right? Rather than say, hey, because even like I say, no amount of money could compensate for even one life, right? So that's why I say that money is the least thing, right? Is the least thing that's supposed to be done, right? To compensate, right? To compensate for that, for what happened. Money is actually the least thing. So when you all come and fighting against the least thing, right, that could soften a situation like that, right? It exacerbates a situation and make it 500 times worse, right? And I don't know what this be at the root of it thinking to want to repeat these events, right? But when it is you want to repeat an event that happened like that, to that horror, right? And you want to come and repeat it in the present, right, to somebody, right? It makes the situation 500 times worse, right? It proves to everybody now that you are no different from your ancestors who did this to people, right? So that's why I said, and even that only did that to me, right? And I still leave the door open. I say, hey, I actually willing to meet because I saw some photos and stuff online, right? And I see that I still in the generation of people, right? The granddaughter, daughters, whoever, sons, whoever it is actually in my generation of people in the British monarchy, right? I still leave the door open. I was like, hey, I accept, right? If you all willing to actually come meet me, make peace, right, about the situation, right? Make peace with regard to what happened, right? And I still leaving that open for the rest of my life because that's the person I is, right? That's the person I am. That's the person I is, right? To leave that doorway open because I understand that, hey, to live in the British monarchy, to be a descendant of that, right? And to have your ancestors, right, participate in them kind of processes against people, right? All you had to have some kind of level of trauma that not normal too, right? All you had to be, right, amongst, because to perpetuate a horror against people mean that you traumatize, right? In order to participate in that level of horror towards somebody, it means that you deeply traumatized, right? So in order for that, right, your white trauma, right, to be eased, I still leave the door open in my life to say, hey, somebody from the British monarchy could come and have a conversation with me with regard to what he did to me, right? As in a repeat of that British colonial slavery experiment that was done in the past, all it did to me. I leaving the door open still for the rest of my life to say, hey, let me talk about this, right? So if all you refuse that, then the world will know. Well, okay, well the Olia is a different breed of people, and we really don't want to have nothing to do with Olia, right? So that is where we are with our repatriation conversation, right? It depends, right, on a conversation, right, that the person in my generation, because the past generation, I realized it, they can't really fix anything about racism, right? And the future generations, they are a little too far from that reality, right? So it really depends on my generation of people. And if my generation of people can't do it, well, it's really war to the rest of the world. Because I strongly believe in my generation of people to make a change, right? I strongly 100 believe, right? Strongly without a shadow of a doubt, right? Believe in whatever race, ethnicity you are. Once you are in my generation of people, meaning 1985 to 1995, right? My generation of people, right? I believe that that generation of people is charged with a particular responsibility, regardless of what anybody say, think, or feel, right? People born between 1985 to 1995, charged with a particular responsibility because that 10 years of people, right? They have an understanding of reality that nobody else have, right? That people born within 1985 and 1995, right, have an understanding of reality that nobody else could come close to understanding, right? And if it's not people in that generation, right, to have that conversation, then nobody else could do it. That's what I believe, right? That's what I believe, right? So that door is open, right, for people who did participate in conducting that thing against me, right? Again, for people who want to have that conversation, right? I am willing to have that conversation and to do whatever it takes, right, to fix the situation, right? To do whatever it takes to or soften the situation, right? Because this can't be going on, right? forever and ever, right? And at some point, people need to move forward from this at all angles, right? So have a blessed day, everybody.